Hey guys, welcome to BAM College Algebra 1.1b, Rational Numbers, and Luke chapter 15, 11 through 32, the parable of the prodigal son. So we will continue our look at classifying a real number. We've been working on natural numbers, whole numbers, and integers, and we've a little bit gotten into rational numbers and just basically real numbers. So if you can pause the video, read this about irrational numbers. Irrational numbers are basically real numbers that cannot be written as a quotient of two integers. And now we're going to get into that with the parable of the prodigal son. He then said a certain man had two sons. So we have already got a number, two, and two is a natural number. It's a whole number. It's an integer. It's a rational number. It's a real number and a complex number. So this man had two sons, and the younger of them, father to the father, father, give to me the falling to me portion of the property. And he divided between them the property. He divided between them the property. So two, like I said, is a natural number, and he divided. So he might get half of the property, maybe a third, maybe a fourth. It depends. I wasn't there. I don't know. And all of these numbers are elements of the rational numbers because they can be written as m over n, where m is an integer and n is an integer. They're all locations on the number line also, so they're real numbers. One half is right there. One third is a little bit to the left of that, and one fourth is over there roughly. And then it looks like it's going to get into the variable that I'm calling y is how many hired servants. And he divided between him the property. And oh, interesting. I didn't see this before. He divided between them the property. So I'm thinking maybe he gave the older brother his property too. I didn't know that. Um, and after not many days, having gathered together all, the younger son went away. So not many days later, he went away into a distant country, and there he wasted the estate of him, living prodigally. And if I hover here, it says wastefully, dissolutely, living wastefully. Having spent, however, all of him, there arose a severe famine throughout the country, and that he began to be in need. He began to be in need during the famine. And having gone, he joined himself to one of the citizens of the country, of that country, and he sent him into the fields of him to feed pigs, chorus, swine, hog, sow, and he was longing to fill the belly of him from the pods. So if I was doing a math modeling problem right now, we could model how many pods could fill his belly. But that is not what this video is about. We're classifying numbers right now from the pods that the pigs were eating, and no one was giving to him. There was a famine. To himself, however, having come, he was saying, how many hired servants of the father of me have abundance of bread? How many hired servants? Oh, that's interesting. Miss Theoi, a paid worker, a hired servant, hireling, contrasted with a slave. From Misthos, a wage earner. So these are not douloi, okay? If you watch the last video, douloi are more like slaves, servant slave types. Have abundance of bread, arton, bread, a loaf, food. And that omega right there, we think of as being a long O, arton. Ego, or I, however, with hunger here and perishing. So he was saying, it looks like he was talking to himself. Having risen up, I will go to the Father, my Father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. So it's against to heaven and in the face of you, in the face of you. Sin to heaven and in the face of you. No longer am I worthy to be called your son. Make me like one of the servants of you. And having risen up, he went to the Father of himself. Still now, he far being distant. And if we were math modeling right now, we could talk about how far away could the Father, have seen him. So it says, still now he far being distant saw him, the Father of him. And again, when I do modeling questions, back then, I don't think they had glasses very much. So how far could he have been? But anyway, of him and was moved with compassion. And remember in the last story, Matthew 18, there was some emotion also. And having run, fell upon the neck of him and kissed him. Then the son said to him, Father, I have sinned to or against heaven. Here it is. Ace, to or into. I have sinned to heaven. But the translators said against. And before you, no longer am I worthy to be called your son. Make me as one of the hired servants of you. Then the father said to the servants of him, the doulos. Now we've got the doulos over here. So then the father said to the servants, slave servants, which are different than the hired servants, supposedly, quickly bring out the best robe and clothe him, and give him a ring for the hand of him, and sandals for his feet. And having brought the fattened calf, kill it, and having eaten, and let us be merry. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found. And they began to be merry. Now was the son of him, the elder son of him, in the field. And while coming up, he drew near to the house. He heard music and dancing. Koron. That is funny because koron is similar to the pig word. Koroi. See that? Koroi is pigs. Koron is dancing. So I don't know if they're playing with words. Koron. And having called near one of the servants, which kind? Doesn't say. Perhaps a boy, a girl, a child, especially a slave or servant. Having called near one of maybe the younger servants, he began inquiring, what might these things be? And he said to him, the brother of you is come and has killed the father of you, the calf, fattened calf, because in good health. It doesn't mean it's killed the father, because this is nominative. So the father has killed the calf. Nominative is like a subject right there. See, the father has killed the fattened calf. Your father has killed the fattened calf because he has received in him in good health. He was angry, however, and was not willing to go in. And the father of him having gone, was begging him. In answering, he said to the father of him, so this father wanted him at the party, the older brother. In answering, he said to the father, and behold, so many years I serve you, dulu duluo, slave, and never a commandment of you I disobeyed. And to me, never did you give a young goat that with the friends of me I might make merry. When, however, the son of you, this, the one having devoured your living with prostitutes, and I thought this was interesting, all of a sudden prostitutes, because earlier it said he was wasting money, but it didn't say prostitutes. And if we click this, or verse 30, two with that exact uses in the New Testament, that exact word, but there are other ones slightly different. And this doesn't talk about the Hebrew Bible, or also called the Old Testament, because this is just Greek right now. And sometimes we do the Old Testament or the Hebrew Bible. Living with prostitutes came, you have killed for him the fatted calf. And he said to him, son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours to make merry. However, and to rejoice, it was fitting because your brother, this brother of you was dead and is alive again, and he was lost and is found. So, why is how many hired servants had bread enough to spare? So, we have this younger son. He went to a distant land. And normally, when you go to a distant land, it's not going to just be a straight shot. So perhaps he went this way, turned left, and went that way. And let's say it was a 90-degree angle. And it's far away. So I'm just going to say, for example, what if this was 200 miles? Remember, they didn't have airplanes back then. And remember, or maybe we'll say this is like 40 miles. And as the crow flies, how far away did he go? Well, because of other math, um, this exact distance using Euclidean geometry is the square root of 200 squared plus 40 squared, which doesn't take into effect the curvature of the Earth, which of course the Earth is curved. This is just if it was in exactly two dimensions. But anyway, so the direct distance from the home to the distant land is the square root of 200 times 200 plus 40 times 40. That's what these little twos mean. That's a squared. So 200 times 200 plus 40 times 40. And then 200 times 200 is 40,000. 40 times 40 is 1600. And we can add those up and we get 41600. 41,600 square root. And if I go on my calculator and type in second square root 41,600, I don't get a integer answer. So this number is not an element of the rational numbers because I cannot write this as a fraction of two integers. It's not rational. If I go math, fraction, enter, it doesn't really do it. So I cannot write it as a little m over a little n, where the numerator and denominator are both integers. So it's irrational. And some people have a double capital I, irrational. And there's more we can do with this to simplify it, but I don't want to go too crazy right now, but I guess I'll just show a little bit. So the square root of 41,600 is the square root of 416 times the square root of, which is 10 times the square root of 416. And then that's 10 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 104, which is 10 times 2 times the square root of 104, which is 20 times the square root of 104. And then we're checking if there are any perfect squares in 104 besides 1. And it's not divisible by 3. 4 and 26. So 20 times the square root of 4 times the square root of 26. But the square root of 4 is 2. So 40 times the square root of 26. And if I put 40 times the square root of 26, it's the same number. The decimal keeps going, but even though it gets cut off there. So this is more simplified and it's considered exact. Whereas this decimal looks exact, but it's missing something. And this is not missing anything. So we can also check if there are any other perfect squares in 26 as factors, and there are not. So here's another a nice picture here, and it's types of numbers or classifying numbers. And the biggest area, even though this is not the scale, are the complex numbers in this drawing. The real numbers are a subset of the complex numbers, and the real numbers are either rational or irrational. And of the rational numbers, some of them are integers, and of the integers, some of them are whole numbers, and of the whole numbers, most of them are natural numbers. So, and you can find other pictures of that online that are really nice. So don't forget to check the comments if you want to be in the giveaway, and everybody have a great day.